our enoughness is grounded, not just grounded in our bodies, but neuroscientists are learning where our enoughness is grounded. As we move along through our lives, navigating the various challenges that arise, we do so on a couple of levels. One level is that we are applying these basic human skills of analyzing, fixing, and controlling to the experiences around avoiding that which is harmful and approaching that which is beneficial. We need to be able to understand what causes us danger, what can cause adverse results in our lives, and we need to know what is beneficial. And being able to analyze it and fix it and get it under control is very useful. There's another level, though, a level that allows for much more. And that's when we begin infusing awareness into how we self-regulate and how we learn to create this phenomenon of allowing, of transcending, analyzing, fixing, and controlling, not because it's bad or wrong, but because it's incomplete. Because there is so much more to being human. And when we turn to these other qualities of our enoughness, awareness, self-regulation, and learning, and begin applying them in the process of avoiding and approaching, then we're able to be fully present to every single one of the 10,000 joys in life and the 10,000 sorrows. And being fully present means that we've given up denial about the realities of life. We've given up resisting that which doesn't appeal to us. And we've given up wishing things to be other than they are. We're just present. We're allowing life. It doesn't mean we've given up analyzing, fixing, and controlling. It means that we have transcended it. We are including it and going beyond it. This is why the 5 E's, why our inherent enoughness matters so much. And one of the reasons it matters is how we are, how it is grounded in us, this is how we show up in life from inception. So as I talk about some of these specific characteristics of our enoughness and their physiology, be thinking about how each of these different characteristics shows up in you. Maybe even some recent experiences that you've had with them. So one of the reasons that protecting, avoiding matters is that this is the essence of surviving. Just keeping alive, staying alive as human beings. When we're subjected to, overwhelmed by physical and emotional abuse, it can cause us to terminate our lives literally or functionally. Survival matters. Connecting, approaching, is about belonging. The experiences that we have here in these morning sessions are so much about belonging. All of you have talked about it again and again, about how much difference it makes, especially during the last 15 months when to varying degrees we were sequestered. How much belonging, connecting really matters. Self-regulating, the third of the 5 E's, is is about learning to behave. Being told don't do that when we are young is useful. But as we grow and mature, we have to learn how to regulate ourselves. And these capacities that we have for self-regulating, for understanding that actions have consequences, are what allow us to connect. If we couldn't self-regulate, there wouldn't be much connecting. There wouldn't be a very much of a sense of belonging. Learning, the fourth of these characteristics, is what enables us to evolve, to grow, to become even more of who we are. And on Wednesday we talked about awareness. How awareness is what gives us this sense of space where we can choose, this sense of space where our freedom is. So these are the 5 characteristics and why they matter. Here's the physiology of them. The characteristic of protecting shows up in our sympathetic nervous systems. When we feel threatened, our brain stems detect it, send a message to the amygdala, which causes our heart rates to escalate, our breathing to get more shallow, our pupils to dilate, and our muscles to tense so that we can protect ourselves. It's very functional. This is the work of the sympathetic nervous system. So this protecting capacity is deep in our physiology. Connecting arises from the combination of the prefrontal cortex interacting with the limbic system. The limbic system is where our emotions are. Our emotions are about, in so many ways, either disconnecting or more positively connecting. And the prefrontal cortex is where the executive function, where the organizing, planning of our lives occurs, where speech and language originate, and where cognitive processing occurs. So these are the basic tools in the prefrontal cortex for how we interact with life. And then we throw in the limbic system, the emotions, for sort of the affect, the flavor of how we do it. So again, the connecting function is right there from the beginning in these 2 parts of the brain, the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. Self-regulation arises from the parasympathetic nervous system. Remember, we said that protecting ourselves is what the sympathetic nervous system does. When we are at these elevated levels of awareness, of being hypervigilant, that's not a sustainable condition. And when it sustains, when it persists for too long, this is what happens when we feel stressed out and our immune systems get compromised and our blood pressure elevates. So it's not good for us to be in this elevated state. That's where the parasympathetic nervous system comes in and helps us relax, come to ease. That's part of our self-regulating mechanism. The prefrontal cortex also plays a role here, but what's really interesting is the role of the anterior cingulate cortex. You don't need to remember any of this stuff. I'm just saying it this morning so that we really have this grounding in our physiology. The anterior cingulate cortex, which is behind the prefrontal cortex, is about allocating attention. It's about anticipating rewards, decision-making. It's about ethics and morality, impulse control, emotion, and error detection. Those are all particulars of how we self-regulate. And those things occur. Those capacities are built in. That's what the anterior cingulate cortex is about. So we come with these abilities to self-regulate. They're right there. Learning. Learning, of course, also arises out of the prefrontal cortex, where this executive function is, the speech and communication, language. But what's really important for the learning that we've talked about so often is the neuroplasticity. This ability of our synapses, the various parts of our nervous system, to fire together when we learn something new. And the more they fire together, the more they wire together. So that something that is brand new, that we're not very good at, we stumble around at, over time, moves from stumbling to mechanical to second nature. So that's the essence of learning. And now we step into the mystery zone. The zone that everybody agrees we still don't know very much about, however powerful and real it is, and that's awareness and consciousness. However much work all of the neuroscientists have been doing that has been really productive in understanding the brain in all of its different functions, nobody can yet identify where consciousness is, how it arises, what it's all about, awareness. As I said in the email, when Rick Hansen was here 10 years ago, the neuropsychologist, and was talking about all of this stuff, he's the author of Buddha's Brain, he said, we know all these things about the brain, and we know even more today than we did 10 years ago, but he said we don't know about consciousness. And his own guess was that 500 years from now, the scientists will still be saying, we don't know. It's a mystery. It's beyond that. And of course, that's what makes it so powerful. So this is all of these qualities of enoughness have two things that I just really want to emphasize. One, they are built in. We come from the factory with all of these qualities in us. We don't need to order them on Amazon. And besides, Amazon doesn't have anything that can hold a candle to these qualities. And these qualities are what not only give us the ability to analyze, fix, and control and navigate for survival and some basic connecting, but they're also what allow us to be fully alive, to be fully present for each and every one of the 10,000 joys and the 10,000 sorrows. So let's do a little practice with this. So there's been lots of cognitive processing going on. That prefrontal cortex has been in high gear here. This is a good time to take a couple of deep breaths and let go of the extra energy and tension that accumulates with all of that cognitive processing. And just settling in and softening. And allowing our attention to go to our breathing. Following our breathing for a few moments. Grounding ourselves in the physical experience of breathing. And now choosing one of these 5 characteristics of our enoughness: avoiding, approaching, self-regulating, learning, awareness. Choosing one of those and how it shows up in you, and recalling a recent experience when you relied on this characteristic or quality to be skillful, to be of benefit to yourself and others. Putting yourself back in that moment, recalling the specifics, who was present, what was said or done. And just noting how you had enough to be skillful, to be beneficial. Noticing how this feels, emotions, sensations. Savoring how it feels to be beneficial and skillful. Saying to yourself clearly, I am enough.